Welcome to Footprints in the Market. We are on episode 5, and today we have done a first for Footprints in the Market. We've actually brought on one of our own team at Digital Footprints. Welcome, Roberto. Thank you for coming on.
It's all good. Glad to be here.
So, Roberto is one of our account leads at Digital Footprints, and he's actually just celebrated his 3-year anniversary with the team. So, this is when I'm making him be on social, making him come on our podcast, and sharing some of his wisdom. So, Roberto, if you could tell us a little bit about your role as account manager at DF, and how you kind of came into the iGaming space in the first place.
Yeah, so I started off as a freelance writer originally for music magazines and things like that, but then I went the totally opposite direction, decided to dive into iGaming and worked with Gambling Insider, so a kind of trade magazine, covering news stories, industry news, financial reports, that kind of thing. And then I saw a job listed with Digital Footprints. So I thought that'd be a good opportunity to expand on the knowledge I'd gained in the iGaming industry and develop myself a bit further. And I thought Digital Footprints had a really interesting range of different clients and scope of work kind of appealed to me. So applied for that, and here I am, 3 years later.
You're listening to Footprints in the Market, the marketing playbook for iGaming. Expect unfiltered insight from market leaders on their industry experience, real-life case studies, pitfalls to avoid, and actionable takeaways for practical growth of your brand. Footprints in the Market is brought to you by Digital Footprints, your strategic marketing partner and safest bet in iGaming. You've put up with for 3 whole years. So what's the kind of typical day like for you as an account lead within Digital Footprints and those iGaming clients that you've got?
First and foremost, I'm the kind of first point of contact, I suppose. So if they have any questions or if they want to know anything or need any help with anything, they'll come to me first, and either I can sort that or pass it on to someone who can. I'm also responsible for coordinating the campaigns, so that's from concept up to delivery across multiple channels, whether that's social media, on site, or in person. And I work with the clients to try and translate their objectives and figure out what it is they want and come up with plans to achieve that. Strategies, SEO strategies, content calendars, things like that to help them get to where they want to be. And reporting and analysis is a big part of it as well. So that's using different tools like Ahrefs and things like that to dive into the content we're creating, figure out what's working, what's not, and then using that information and that data to then adjust our approach moving forward to try and get better results.
I think obviously from what you're saying, it's quite a content heavy part as well, just obviously just from the copywriting side of things, but from like the SEO side of things. And we've had these kind of like discussions within this season and seasons before about content and about AI and how that's changing things. But obviously your sort of opinion is that content is king, and it still is king, even with that. So what's your opinion? Why do you think it's so critical in iGaming for, well, the whole ecosystem for affiliates, operators, and B2B?
I think mainly because it's such a competitive industry. So, and it's only getting more competitive, the competition's getting more intense. So brands need to have some way of cutting through that noise and setting themselves apart. And I think content is the best way to do that. It also is important for building trust and credibility. So it's obviously a really compliance heavy environment, and content can be used to build trust and tell players or other companies, whoever it is, that they are reputable and their products are safe. And obviously it's important for SEO and visibility and long-term growth. Content can be used to drive traffic, engagement, conversions, that kind of thing.
I think that kind of leads me nicely to my next question. So obviously we service affiliates, operators, and B2B, right? So, and you're kind of in charge of accounts within all of those within this space. How does the goal of that content change, whether like we are creating something for an affiliate site versus like an operator or a B2B brand?
I think it all comes down to user intent. So when users come onto affiliate and operator sites, they're going to be looking for different things compared to users who are going into B2B brands. So the content needs to reflect that, and the goals of the content reflect that as well. For affiliates, it's all about traffic, getting clicks, conversions, rankings. So the content needs to be optimized with that in mind. With operators, trust. It's all about building trust, building credibility, telling players that your products are safe and that they're also fun as well. So there needs to be that aspect. With B2B brands, it's more about lead generation and also building a kind of story around the brand, whether that's talking about the values, the evolution of the company, and then providing industry news, company news. So there's differences between them, but it's important that brands think about that.
I think it's interesting because I had a conversation with a couple of affiliates and we were talking about that trust and credibility side from that SEO, and what they'd obviously done was created quite a lot of opportunity for like user generated content, but there's now the ability for like individual profiles and people to rank for that, and I think that like in terms of the authenticity of it, that's like super important. Like, can you say like what we would do? So, what would the process be? For example, if you were writing for an affiliate, say if we were doing like a game review or a slot review, how in depth would we go in terms of research to make sure that is like an authentic, unbiased piece of content that actually will rank well?
Yeah, I think it's important. You need to do a lot of research because the content needs to be accurate. Because if a player goes on and reads a review of something and then they try the game out or the product or whatever it is and they find that it doesn't match up, then that's going to reflect really badly on the affiliate, and they're not going to seem reputable, they're not going to seem trustworthy, which obviously has a big negative impact. Yeah, obviously it involves playing it ourselves, even just the demo version, just to get first-hand experience of it. Because if you're relying on reading a review someone else has written, then you've got no idea of knowing whether that's accurate or not. So getting in there and actually playing it yourself is really important. And yeah, I think for affiliates as well, it's important to have a unique tone of voice, so that kind of sets them apart from all the other affiliates out there. So the information needs to be accurate, but also needs to be presented in a way that's unique and engaging.
So you've obviously seen this space evolve. So you've been working on content within the iGaming space since before even digital footprints. What content trends do you think are shaping the iGaming industry in 2025 and beyond?
I think compliance is having a big impact. Rules around how gambling content is delivered is getting stricter all over the world. So content teams are having to find new ways to work around those and deliver content that's still engaging, but that meets these kind of evolving regulations. So that's been a big one. Personalization as well, which can come in the form of like custom game recommendations, segmented content, and localized offers. We're seeing more brands use data to analyze player behavior and preferences, and then deliver content that appeals to people on an individual basis. And AI is probably having the biggest impact, especially in terms of how the content's actually created, but also it ties into the personalization aspect as well. So it's affecting how it's created and also how it's presented and delivered as well.
Footprints in the Market is sponsored by BetComply, because in iGaming, compliance isn't just a tick box exercise. From new market entry to ever-changing regulations, BetComply keeps you one step ahead. Don't risk it, own it. Head to betcomply.com and take control of your compliance today. And how do you think do you think that AI is helping the quality of content, or do you think it hurts it? What's your approach to AI when we're creating our content pieces?
I think it can do both, but it just depends how it's used. It's great for me personally. I think it's great for getting ideas out of my head and kind of getting a bit of a structure to them. So I find when you're putting something together, often the longest part of the process is figuring out, right, how do I set this all out? What should go where? And I think AI is really good for that. But there is the risk that people rely on it too much and things can end up sounding generic, and you know you can tell sometimes if it's lots of those M dashes and things like that and kind of AI speak that someone's
Yeah.
just stuck it in ChatGPT and just ran with it. And there's also the kind of AI detector aspect as well,
Hmm.
which we've kind of had to struggle with, because sometimes even something you've written 100% from scratch can still be flagged as AI, which obviously throws up all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I think that's important to actually highlight because I think obviously this podcast is meant to sort of bear warts and all. It's definitely an internal conversation that we've had when, we produce content, it's been written from scratch, but it fails an AI detector. And it's then very difficult to relay that on to the client. And we're really lucky that we've obviously got long-term clients clients and standing clients that understand that actually that is what we do. But do you think there's something within the fact that we don't have technology that's good enough yet to understand what's AI and what's not, and until we do, for other like agencies or affiliates or whatever that are relying on that, that could be like really problematic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose as the AI detectors get better, the AI is going to get better as well. So, there might not ever be a way of actually telling whether something's AI or not, which is a worrying thought. But yeah, it is a bit of an issue, especially because sometimes you might have to tweak something that's completely original just to get it past the AI detectors, which can involve introducing slight errors in grammar and things like that. So the quality of
Yeah.
the content actually suffers as a result.
What about like the different types of content? So obviously, well, here we create video, blogs, social white papers, like everything from that sphere. But from your opinion, where do you think companies should be investing their time and their budget right now?
Yeah, so the focus for this, I think, depends on whether you're an affiliate, an operator, or a B2B brand. But, there are kind of larger trends that I think apply to all of them. Video and interactive formats are really, really important at the moment. Short form videos, especially for affiliates and operators, and these can kind of go across social channels, and they can deliver, really high engagement rates and enhance visibility.
Hmm.
Blogs are still important as well, though, especially for building SEO and driving traffic to sites, and they can be a sort of backbone for brands that other content can sit on top of. And socials as well. I think there's a lot to be said for building a community, especially for affiliates, whether that's through Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, or kind of chat apps like Discord. They're great for building up a kind of loyal base of customers and kind of establishing yourself as a trusted voice in the space.
You talked a little bit earlier about like that compliance and regulation aspect of things, which I think is a really, really good point. And I think that some brands are kind of like struggling with those types of restrictions on them and still being creative. So how do we do it? So how do we keep content engaging while staying compliant within the space?
It's a case of working with the compliance, not against it. And there's no point coming up with loads of good ideas and then checking if they're suitable, because you run the risk of the best ones having to be scrapped. So I think the best approach is to look and think, what can we do, rather than do it straight away, and build around the rules rather than just kind of winging it at the start. And yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, because I think sometimes it can have like the opposite effect too. So like because it makes us think outside the box a little bit more. Like we're forced to come up with better ideas. We're forced to come up with more innovative ideas that maybe before we wouldn't have done. Like years back when it was a kind of like free for all and any content was ranking and any kind of content was doing well.
Definitely, I think kind of putting limitations in place actually makes you be more creative, because you need to think harder about how to do something, and you can't just do anything. You need to actually sit down and think about it and come up with a plan, and make sure that plan's going to help you achieve what you want to.
And what are some of the most common mistakes that you've seen iGaming companies make in their content strategy?
I think the big one is probably prioritizing volume over quality, and just being in a rush to get out as much as possible. Whereas I think if you sit down and spend that time working on something a bit longer, then it's going to provide more value for you in the short and the long term. And also ignoring user intent is a big problem. The brands need to think about why people are coming onto the site and tailor the content to fit that.
Yeah. I think I always remember at a conference when I was kind of having this conversation and somebody asked me for like the best tip I could create for content in SEO, and literally I just said answer the question. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to that user intent. I think like people can really overcomplicate things, but actually, see if you're just answering the question that user's asking, then there's no
Yeah.
reason why you wouldn't rank.
Yeah, exactly.
But for us, have you got like even like an example or a campaign or anything that you can share that like we've worked on recently, well specifically you to be fair, that's really delivered results and why you think it has delivered results?
Well, this isn't a recent example, but that's kind of the point. It was an article I wrote for the Digital Footprints website about the Lilt rebrand, the rebrand of the juice. And that was like 3 years ago, maybe I wrote that, and it's still ranking pretty highly to this day. So I think that's kind of demonstrates the importance, first of all, the importance of timing when you're writing something or creating any sort of piece of content, jumping on a trend when the search volumes are high and kind of riding that wave. And also it shows how this kind of evergreen content can provide long-term ROI, and it can still continue even though it's not as relevant as it was, it's still kind of generating hits. So yeah.
Footprints in the Market is brought to you by Digital Footprints, your strategic marketing partner and safest bet in iGaming. Make your mark and work with us to drive growth and innovation for your iGaming business. Yeah, I think I actually remember it was a client that we'd had, well, we still have this client, but they were working with a while back, and it was like an age verification provider. And we managed to get, I think it was like, definitely, it was over 10,000 hits on one article. And it was because it was like so timely, SEO ready. And to this day, the article's like 2 years old, but we still get hits from it. And I think that completely reinforces your point about what you're giving,
Yeah, definitely.
the example you're giving for, for the Lout campaign and how that's worked for digital footprints.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, if a brand wants to level up their content strategy this year, if they're saying like 2025 is the year, we're really going to focus on our content plans, where should they start?
I think the best place to start is with the content they already have, rather than jumping straight into creating new stuff, because there's opportunities that can be missed in older content. So running an audit there and looking for potential gaps, outdated things, duplication as well, just making sure all of that is as good as it can be. And from there, they can move forward and start working on new stuff. And I think that should start with clarifying their audience and their demographics and their user intent as well, because these can change over time, obviously. And from there, with that information, they can then start putting together a content calendar, which is a perfect time to look for seasonal opportunities, like we spoke about, looking for kind of relevant trends that you can jump on and take advantage of high search volumes at particular times of year.
And what excites you the most about the future of content within the iGaming industry?
Emerging tech, I think. AI obviously has its problems, but it's kind of really changing up how things are made and things are delivered, and personalization as well. It's not, content's not kind of one size fits all anymore. It's been designed with individual players in mind, which opens up new creative opportunities, which I think is really interesting. And as we spoke about as well, the kind of creative storytelling within compliance is making for some really interesting stuff that yeah.
Fine, awesome. And if you had to give one golden rule for creating content that works, what would that one golden rule be?
It would be to focus on value, because I think if someone comes on and reads something or watches something and they don't come away with something at the end of it, then it's not done the job it's meant to do. And they could leave with a bad impression and think I've just wasted my time. So value should be at the kind of the forefront of any content strategy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Roberto, because I know that you're very, very busy today from the digital movement side of things.
It's all good.
For taking the time, coming on, and obviously just sharing some of our internal content insights and how we kind of manage those campaigns, and hopefully our listeners can kind of have some good takeaways for there.
All good.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye.
Cheers.